Welcome to the Truth, a production of Pathway of Peace Ministries with Pastor Thabet Megaly. My name is Carl Sarpi and I'm your host. In this episode, Pastor Thabet will be speaking on Muslims versus radical Muslims. Well, is there really a difference between a Muslim and a radical Muslim? Well, Pastor Thabet is going to be answering that. But before we begin, let's take a look at this 4-minute clip, this 4-minute video with Middle East expert Bridget Gabriel. And stay tuned, we're going to come back and answer the question. Is there a difference between Muslim and radical Muslim?
Assalamu alaikum. Peace to you all. My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. I am here to ask you a simple question. I know that we portray Islam and all Muslims as bad, but there's 1.8 billion Muslim followers of Islam. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here. But my question is, how can we fight an ideological war with weapons? How can we ever end this war? The jihadist ideology that you talk about, it's an ideology. How can you ever win this thing if you don't address it ideologically?
Great question. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad you brought that up because it gives us an opportunity to answer. What I find so amazing is since the beginning of this panel, which we are here about Benghazi attack against our people, not one person mentioned Muslims. We are here against Islam, or we're launching war against Muslims. We are here to discuss how 4 Americans died and what our government is doing. We were not here to bash Muslims. You were the one who brought up the issue about most Muslims, not us. And since you brought it up, allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%, according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. That is as big of the United States. So why should we worry about the radicals, 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died. Almost 14 million in concentration camps. 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took 19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. So for all our powers of reasons and us talking about moderate and peaceful Muslims, I'm glad you're here. But where are the others speaking out? And since you are the only Muslim representative, applause till the end. Thank you. Thank you. And since you're the only Muslim representative in here, you took the limelight instead of speaking about why our government, and I assume, are you an American? You're an American citizen. So as an American citizen, you sat in this room, and instead of standing up and saying a question or asking something about our 4 Americans that died and what our government is doing to correct the problem, you stood there to make a point about peaceful, moderate Muslims. I wish you brought 10 with you to question about how we can hold our government responsible. It is time we take political correctness and throw it in the garbage where it belongs and start calling it fair.
Welcome back to the program. Again, my name is Carl Sarfi. I'm your host with Pathway of Peace Ministries and Pastor Thabet Megaly. And here we are on the next episode of The Truth. And we just finished watching a very interesting video with Bridget Gabriel, who is a Middle East expert, and where she got questioned, and it was interesting on her response. Now, I'm really interested in this episode because as a North American, as a Westerner, as a Christian, I want to understand what's really going on. We don't hate anybody. We're not against anybody because we love people, because God loves people. But we really want to understand what is really going on. Is there a difference between a Muslim and a radical Muslim? And here to answer that question, and help answer that question, is Pastor Thabet. Pastor Thabet, welcome. It's great to talk to you again.
Thank you, Carl. I believe that what Judge Gabriel did was wonderful, because she just pointed, she focused on some points that even the radicals are few people or few percentage, but this few percentage, they are more active than the normal people. This is what she tried to say in her video. But also, when we talk about those people that the people think that they are radical Muslim, and I believe when we study Islam, we will see that there is no difference between true Muslim and radical Muslim. Yes, I agree that the most people, they are peaceful people. They don't know everything about the Quran. They don't know everything about their doctrine. But those people who we call them radical Muslim, they use the Quran and the verses from the Quran to kill other people. And I can just describe that from my studying from the Quran and Hadith, which is a Muslim belief. Hadith, it's Muhammad saying, the Prophet of Islam. And the Quran commands them to kill infidels. And we will come to see the difference now. For example, some people say that Quran say, don't make any conversation with the people of book, and people of book means Christian and Jewish, but you have to do a good dialogue. It means don't force them to be Muslim or something like that. But when we read the Islam and we read in the books of Islam, especially the book called abrogation, and abrogation means verses, deleted verses, and this is person is very famous person who wrote about this subject. His name is Naisaburi, and he said all the verses that talk about peace that abrogated or deleted by Surah number 9 verse 5, and they call it the verse of sword. It means everything against to kill infidels is abrogated, and it's not anymore in the has power for that. They applied what in the Quran. Those people, they use lie, their method to lie to the other people, for that they can tell you that we are peaceful for a while, and then they can turn to be violent. And this is not something that the people by their nature do it, But this is something that the people know it is a doctrine. They call it divine doctrine. Lying is divine doctrine because the Muslim, his God, or Muslims' God, allowed them to lie in three situations.
So,
According,
so basically what you're saying, if I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So you're saying that it's permitted to lie in this situation to cover what the real agenda is.
it is. And if we study the history of Islam and history of Muhammad and his biography, when Muhammad started for 13 years in Mecca, you know, in Saudi Arabia, there is two places. There's a place called Mecca. The people now go and do pilgrimage in. And there's another place called Medina. Muhammad started in Mecca 13 years. He was peaceful with everybody. He respected everybody. Even he worshipped idols, and he said a good words about the Bible, about the Old Testament and New Testament, said a very good words about Jesus Christ. All this stuff was when Muhammad was weak and has few followers. When he became strong and immigrated from Mecca to Medina, and this was 623 according Muslim calendar, 623 according our calendar. It's not a Muslim calendar. 623 is after 13 years of his starting, and then it started to be against everybody for that. Muslim, when they are weak, they use the abrogation verses, which Muhammad used them when he was weak. But when they get in power, they use other verses. And I can show you like some verses from both sides. Like
before you say that, this is really, because you're dealing with something very powerful, and you make me think of a couple of different thoughts. So I want to interject before you get into that, Pastor Thabet. And here's one of the things I think about. So really what you're saying, if I understand this correctly, is that they're using peace. He uses peace to build an army or build his strength and hide his true agenda. But a lot of people, and this is particularly in Western culture, which it seems that the radical Islamists are taking advantage of, is our peaceful nature, because everybody wants peace. The sad part about it is sometimes you can't have peace without war. That's the fact of life, because some people want to take away your peace.
Yeah.
So really what you're saying is that what Muhammad did was he actually used this as a opportunity to build his forces and to build his strength. And then the true face of Islam was shown once he got strong enough, and then he went to conquer.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that changed today? See, a lot of people would think it doesn't apply. That's why we see a lot of this debates and a lot of this discussion. They're trying to put a face on Islam that doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
Westerners are trying to help that, because I think they're full of fear. I think they're afraid, and I think that's what's the driving force is. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I believe what you said, Carl, is really true, because the people, they don't like to face the truth, and they don't like to search about the truth. For example, like when we study Islam, we will see that very, very clear that Muhammad started his war after 13 years old. For that, after 13 years of his beginning, all the 13 years he didn't do any war because he wasn't able to do. And this is what the Muslims do when they are not able to do and to use this. They are peaceful people because they are weak. Peace when you are weak, but when you are strong and when you have power, you have to kill people. And they use, for example, some verses. I'd like to show you some verses. For example, Surah number 73, verse 10, and said to Muhammad to be patient with the other people. For another verse, for example, they told Muhammad was told not to impose Islam by force. That's a good thing. And another surah, it's 29, verse 46, it says here, and dispute ye not with the people of the book, except with means better than mere distribution, by say we believe in the revelation which has come down to us and that which come down to you. It's ye believe in the same revelation as here. But other verses that comes in Medina's age, for example, Surah number 2, verse 191, it says, kill his opponents, kill the people, kill them whenever you find them. It's like kill the people who against you whenever you find them. Also, in Surah number 2, 193, say to kill whoever rejects Islam. It means if I reject Islam. And let me to tell you that this is what happened in Iraq right now. Like the people ISIL, Islamic State in Iraq and Levant, and those people give Christian and other people option to be Muslim like Daesh or ISIL, or to pay money to stay there, or to be killed. And we see people crucified. And if you follow the news today, you will see a lot of that, because it's a commandment from their God to kill whoever rejects Islam. Another one in Surah number 2, verse 29 said, fight the people of the book. It's mean here, fight the Christian and Jewish. Again, fight the infidels, fight Christian and Jewish, fight non-Muslim, fight those who don't believe in Islam. Surah number 9, verse 12 said, fight the chief of unfaith, the infidels. And like many verses, like Surah number 9, verse 14, fight them and Allah, Muslims, God, will punish them by your hands, cover them with shame, help you to victory over them, heal the priest of believer. It means when you kill people, it heals your priest, it heals your heart. And if you remember that when the people killed some soldiers in Syria, and they start to eat their organ, and this is what in the Quran, Surah number 9, verse 14, I just mentioned it. And many other verses. I don't know if we have time to say all the verses or not.
But before you continue, I think this is really huge, because you make me think of a couple of different things, and you know, this education is really important, because people would say, well, we live in a civilized culture, and that wouldn't happen, and that's just happening over there in the Middle East, what's happening in Iraq. And you know as well as I do, I'm amazed, and I'm certainly not surprised that, and I watch BBC News, for example, and I don't, how slanted they are on, they don't talk about any of the, you know, or you hear very little news, at least in mainstream media, and particularly BBC, about anything happening to Christians. And it's just a cursory glance. It's just a very superficial discussion. And then boom, on to, oh, but the poor Palestinians, the poor this, and I'm not minimizing anything, because I don't like to see killing at all. I don't think it's good. I don't like it. I'm not for it. It's very sad on both sides. What really bothers me is there's only one side being shown. And yeah, what I want to go back to something before you respond. What I'm hearing you say is that prior to Medina, Muhammad was actually building his strength. So if I understand the philosophy of the Quran, it's saying be peaceful when you're weak, but when you're strong, then apply these other verses. When you're strong, go out and kill them if they're against you, because see, nobody's doing anything about it. I mean, we see some things being done, but nobody's really taking a stand against some of these things. Soldiers in Britain dragged through their bodies are chopped up. And, you know, this is a real, in France, radical Islam is, it seems to me that those societies are so scared of what's happening, they're afraid to say anything at all, to take the control of what's really going on. And they're allowing this radical Islam to really start taking shape and grow stronger and stronger and stronger until it's too late.
Yeah. First of all, let me say that I am not against Muslim. I'm against the philosophy of Islam.
Right.
I love Muslim. I pray for them. I have many Muslim friends, and I pray with them. I pray for them. Like Muslim people, they are people in deception because they have been told this is God's will. This is God's commandment. You have to follow for that. There is deception that you and me, when we face the truth, we get them out of deception.
Yes.
And when we get them out of deception, we will have peace together. Second thing, like the people sometimes, like what you say, the people didn't see this is in Middle East, this is in other countries, they can't do anything in North America or Western country. I tell the people who say that, just to go to in England, Great Britain, see what the Muslim do in the street. Or just remember September 11 was a Muslim dead for America. See, when the Muslim has opportunity to kill and destroy, it's not because they are evil people, it's because their God commands them to destroy non-Muslim. I wonder, like, when you say, kill them whenever you find them, just try to find them and kill them when you have power. Another thing, when we see Muslim people, peaceful people, either they don't know Islam, they don't know these verses, and this is the majority of Muslim. I believe it's like Judge Gabriel said, from 15 to 25. I believe even if it's less than that, because less than that they know Islam, because some people follow the radical Muslim and they don't read just to follow them because they said it's from Islam. But the rest of people, they didn't read the Quran, and even when they read the Quran, they don't understand it, because the Quran is just a recite and some voices. There's many words in the Quran without understanding, meaningless. And we can talk about that. We have many things to talk about. But here we see that the Quran commands them, the Hadith commands them to do that. What I'd like to say for North American people, English speakers, we need to pray for Muslim. Second, we need to know the truth. We don't like to deceive ourselves and deceive people. Third, you have to stand for your right. Like we as immigrant people come to your country and we use our right and you don't use your right. Like I gave one example, Carl, and I'd like people to see that. I hear that in Canada, in public school, you bought a Bible in public school, you pray Lord's Prayer, and you have cross or something like that. When the Muslim came to your country, they start to complain from seeing the cross because it offend them. They start to complaining from saying the Lord's Prayer. They start to complain from using the Bible in the school. And then the government of Canada, because they are very generous and like everybody to be happy, they said we have to take out that. Christians were silent. They didn't say anything. They didn't say this is our country. It's our country based on this faith. They say nothing. And this is what I don't like about Canadian people. They are very generous. They are very good people. I love them. They open their arm and it's not North American people in general. But after that, Muslims start saying, we have right to pray. We need a prayer room in the school. What? You kicked me out of my house and come to take my place, and you place your faith here and you force your faith. And this is the beginning. For that, I'd like people to treat everybody equal. We love them. They have the same rights that everybody because they are human beings. I like them, but we have to be careful because there's verses to tell them when they understand. You know, Carl, there's many writers and famous writers and actors in Egypt. They say we shouldn't let the children read these verses from the Quran, the verses that I just mentioned, because they become violent. And think about that. If you believe in this book, the Quran, and you know this is God's word, and your God tell you kill non-Muslim, then when you have opportunity to kill me as non-Muslim, you will do it. This is the danger of the subject. There is many things, like many verses. I don't like to be long for the people, but I think we will do more of that. We can talk also about ISIL, what happened in Syria, what happened in Israel and Palestinian, and why the people do that. And we can cover many subjects.
Well, let's come back to a very important question that we started the program with, and that was, so is there really a difference now? And let me say this before I ask the question. It doesn't matter how kind you are. It doesn't matter how much you want to seek the truth. Some people will just be offended, and they will always look for a reason to be offended. That's just the nature of humanity, and they just have they hate everything. They hate everything you represent. I like what you pointed out, and it's interesting how prayer was taken out of the school. The Bibles were taken out of the school. You can't talk about it in the school. There's tolerance for every religion except Christianity. And they say Christianity is exclusive. Well, if you read the Koran, it seems to me that every religion is excluded. And if we're to apply it the way it reads, there's a real danger that's approaching, and we're ignorant and we're not seeing it happen.
Let me, before you leave this point, Carl, I'd like to make this clear.
Sure.
Like when you said Christian is exclusive, this is what you said?
Excluded, yeah.
Excluded? Yeah. As a Christian, I know Jesus is the only way to heaven.
That's right.
But Jesus didn't tell me, kill who don't believe in me. This is the difference. Yeah. Muslim, they know the Quran and Muhammad, this is the only religion. But their Quran tells them, whoever don't believe in Islam, kills him. This is the difference.
So what we're really in, we're kind of in a phase right now. Let's just take a look at the history of Mecca and then moving to Medina. So we could call it the Medina period, where the strength rose up and then the killing started. So really we're in a phase right now of just building strength. So what we're seeing is the radicals are just peace, 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 peace. Everything's good. Everything's good. Things are being set up and put in place. And then it's going to come to a time where you believe, and some people would call it a conspiracy theory, but you understand the nature of this beast. You understand when Gabriel, Bridget said there are 180 to 300 million radical Muslims that are seeking the destruction of Western civilization. Well, we're part of that, and it can look all nice and all good. And I'm not trying to get everybody full of fear, but we really need to take a look at what's really happening around us. We're like the frog thrown into a pot of water, and you turn up the temperature slowly, and it boils to death. All of a sudden, the frog is just dead. Didn't know what happened, how it got there. It's dead because 1 degree at a time, it's turned up, and you're just relaxed and you die. And so I want to ask a question here, because I want to make sure that we address this question again. Is there a difference between a Muslim and a radical Muslim?
Every Muslim believe in the Quran and Hadith became radical. If he believes,
you're saying to believe in it the way it's actually written. So there are some that if they really understood, there could be many, millions that would look at this and say, I don't agree with killing people just because they don't believe in the Quran.
If the people, like if there is some people, they don't believe in this versus killing, but the Muslims, the true Muslim, consider them non-Muslim and they deserve to be killed.
Okay, so what you're saying is even a Muslim that believes in the Quran and believes in Muhammad, that doesn't believe in these verses, they're really non-Muslims to the radical Muslims. Is what
They you know, I'm not saying they don't believe in these verses, but they try to not to believe in them, because as a human being we are against to kill each other.
Yes.
I believe that when God created us to be human, love the life. And if you see the difference, a very, very essential difference between Islam and Christian, that you can kill yourself to kill the other people in Islam, like to put seat like a bomb belt and bomb yourself and some people, and you go to paradise. And we can talk about that also.
Oh, wow.
But Christian, you can give yourself and die to save somebody else. For that, Christianity about saving people and let them to live. Islam about to kill people. This is what we can see. This is what I see in Islam from my study. And to be like, I think, Carl, we can have another video about the difference between Muslim, because there is three categories of Muslim. Like a Muslim who believe in the Quran and know the Quran and believe that everything they have to apply it, they became radicals like Osama bin Laden, like ISIL, like Muslim Brotherhood, like those people who kill others. But there's other Muslims, they call it secular Muslim. They use their mind and brain and they didn't accept everything. And there's another kind of Muslim, they are average, everyday Muslim. They like Catholic. The people said we are Catholic and never go to church. But they believe that everything, but in Islam, they believe everything that the leader of Islam say is right. We can talk about that and make the difference between the three categories of Islam and how we can deal with them. And I believe, I hope that I answered your question. Is there any difference between true Muslim, is Muslim and radical Muslim? True Muslim is radical Muslim. Muslim who believe in the Quran and everything in the Quran became Osama bin Laden or ISIL or Muslim Brotherhood. But the people who don't know the Quran, but they said we are Muslim, they don't know. But if they know, they do two things. Maybe they reject all these things and said we are not Muslim anymore. And I have seen many of them, they left Islam when they understood old Islam. Or some of them said, no, we joined Osama bin Laden or ISIL or other people and became radical Muslim. And I have many stories about that. There's good people when they understood the Quran became radicals, and many good people when they understood the Quran, they left Islam.
Right. So you have really one of two distinctions here. You're either going to become radical, and look at what's happening, and we'll move on. We only have a couple of minutes, but let's, what's happening right now in the Middle East, and it's not just now, it's happened, for centuries, but we're seeing that the attacks are even unprovoked, and yet many of the Muslims are being forced to be human shields and stay at the threat of death.
Yeah.
To be a martyr, you must be a martyr, you must stay. So, this is sad as well. Like even the people that don't believe, the Muslims that don't believe in the destruction of life and killing. And I saw some very genuine people that were wonderful. They were wonderful Muslim people, and they're full of, you could see they were full of love, and they just wanted to live. But the radicals don't want them to live. The radicals want them to die to kill other people. Yeah. And it doesn't make any sense at all. There is no sense of it because they don't want to make sense of it.
Let me close with this about that.
Sure.
Like the leaders of Muslim, they sent other people to die, but they are not in first line. They bought some people else, and even this come out from their prophet. The people of Christ try to kill Muhammad because they didn't believe in him. And then Muhammad knew that they are coming to kill him this night. And then he put a person, his name is Ali ibn Abi Talib, and this was the fourth leader after Muhammad. He put him to sleep in his bed. Then when the people come to kill Muhammad, they kill Ali ibn Abi Talib instead of him. I'm thinking between Jesus Christ, who came to die to give me life, and this prophet who put people to die for him. And I always tell my friends, Muslim friends and brothers, because you are my brothers, because you are created by God.
Right.
Which leader you follow? The one who pushed you to die or one to give you life? And he's willing to die for you, and he died for you to give you life.
Good. Well, Pastor Thabet, it's always a pleasure to discuss these things, and I know that it's important not just for my knowledge and education, but also for all those that are around, and particularly what you just said here in the end, that Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me." But he didn't come to take life. He's not the thief. The thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But Jesus said, "I come to give life and give it more abundantly." So there's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. So one lays his life down. One wants you to lay their life down. That doesn't sound too good to me. I think I'll go for the one that, and have gone for the one that laid his life down for all of humanity. So God bless you, Pastor Thabet. Thank you again.
God bless you too, and thank you very much.